Hey guys, how you going? This is BillyEatWorld, and today we're going to take a first look at the brand new Rush game mode in Battlefield 1. And as you can imagine, this is something that I've been pretty keen to try because, like I've said in previous videos, I'm almost exclusively a Rush player in BF4. So, in other words, basically for me, overall the amount I'll enjoy BF1 has got a lot to do with how well the devs managed to pull this off, which is a big part of the reason I stopped playing Hardline and Battlefront, because although they did have similar modes, they just weren't as good. So what makes a good Rush mode? Well, number one, it's got to be fair, it's got to be balanced, and most importantly, it can't just be a giant clusterfuck. I mean, for example, it's got to give players breathing room to use tactics, which was something that even in BF4 was kind of lost to some degree. There also should be a push and pull when it comes to balancing, and you shouldn't ever feel like one team is just steamrolling over the other. And last but not least, the maps have got to suit the game mode, which was something that a lot of people often remember from BF3, but not so much from BF4. Now, as far as these points go, well, BF1 does nail some of them. Like, for example, I think it's great that Rush now only has a 24-player cap. And that's because, well, Battlefield already has a large hectic mode in Conquest, and so I think Rush really should be a smaller, more tactical alternative. Also, I should mention some other great new additions to Rush in BF1 are the cavalry classes and the pickup machine guns and flamethrower kits, which I think in a lot of ways feel like the heroes from Battlefront, which are great in this style of game mode for pushing through enemy defenses. As for everything else though, well, I'd say in general Rush in BF1 is still more or less very similar to how it is in BF4. For example, there's still 2 objectives per set, and as far as arming and disarming goes, well, that's all pretty much the same as well. Also, like in previous games, both teams get cars and heavy vehicles at different stages, which can still single-handedly turn the tide of the battle. But with that being said, one thing I did notice that seems to be missing is air vehicles, although that's not to say that there won't be any in the final game. Now, if that was the end of it, I'd say BF1 Rush is as good or even better than BF4, but unfortunately, there are a few points it doesn't hit quite as well. And the main one, at least on Sinai Desert, is the map design, because on some sets there's probably too many choke points and not enough cover. In fact, at times it kind of felt like you were playing in a shooting gallery for snipers, and if it wasn't for the tanks, then the attackers probably wouldn't have a chance. But once again, I should point out that obviously this is only a beta, so it probably is a bit too early yet to judge the map design in general. Probably even worse for balancing than the map design though is the current state of tanks, which I think are great in Conquest, but not as good in Rush. And that's because, well, as you know, they're now a lot tougher than they were in previous games, and pretty much the only counter that they have at long range is another tank. The other big reason they don't work quite as well in Rush is because they can pretty much transport a whole squad right up to the objective with very little risk. And what's even worse is that sometimes teams get more than one tank, which is way too many for a 24-player cap because it doesn't leave a lot of people running around on foot. Now, clearly tanks are meant to be a big part of Battlefield 1, and maybe DICE actually wanted Rush to play out like this. And if that is the case, then that's fine, but like I said, there does need to be push and pull, and it's not fun for anyone when the tanks are doing all the work. Also, it's pretty unbalanced when one team is able to keep their tank alive and move it onto another objective where tanks don't spawn for the opposing team. And so, in a nutshell, I think unless DICE are planning to nerf the tanks, which is pretty unlikely, then they are going to have to add in some better ways to counter them. Also, on the topic of things that need counters, well, just like I predicted in one of my previous videos, at least on Rush, everyone seems to be sniping. And just to give you an example of how bad this is, I'd say apart from getting killed by tanks, about 80% of my deaths on Rush were from snipers. Once again, it doesn't seem like DICE are going to nerf the snipers, so I think simply they just need to add in more cover throughout the map. Because if they don't, then like what happens on this map on the middle set of objectives, at some point the attackers are just going to get locked down. But anyway, to finish up, and bearing all of this in mind, I just want to end by saying that if BF3 Rush was about a 9 out of 10, and BF4 was like a 7, then Sinai Desert currently puts BF1 at probably about a 6. And so, in other words, it's good, but it's not great yet, which, like I said, probably has got a lot to do with the fact that it is still a beta. As you can see though, it is going to need some improvement if it's going to outshine the previous games, especially BF3, but fortunately DICE do have a track record of cleaning up Rush if they get it wrong, like for example the way they rearranged a lot of the maps in BF4. With that being said though, those changes literally took years for them to get around to, and to be honest there's still things in BF4 Rush that I don't like. So let's just hope that this time around they listen to the community and do their best to get Rush right from day one. In any case though, even in its current state, I'm just happy it's back this time around, and I'm sure a lot of you guys out there are as well. But just remember, if you are someone like me and you do want Rush to be as good as it was back in the old days, make sure that you speak up now, because come October, we probably won't get another chance. But anyway guys, that just about wraps up this video, so let me know what you think about Rush in BF1 in the comment section below, and as always, if you like what you see, don't forget to like, comment and subscribe. Also check out the links in the description below if you want to see any more of my videos, or if you want to support my channel on Patreon, and until next time, see you later, and have a good one.